Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back, everybody.
Hopefully you guys are staying warm and dry. It's soggy.
Yeah, that's a good word. Soggy is good.
Absolutely. And just in case you haven't, please do subscribe if you want to check out more videos of this, like as we are going down the Earth Changes route on this one. This is the new channel, Heart's Om, and there is a link now on all the newer videos coming out that will take you here. So this is our deep dive into meditation, mantras, and will be more music too. Now, this is kind of the big buzz on the Earth science, Earth Changes scene right today. The Earth's inner core just stopped spinning. Hello, is everything okay?
It just sounds kind of extreme. It's like, okay, it's Earth's core and it stops spinning, and it seems like there should be some sort of reaction, maybe? I don't know. Yeah, so it says prepare for a rotation reversal. What does that mean, I wonder?
Well, underneath it, as scary as it sounds, scientists say this is not the first time it's happened. In fact, they say it happened back in 1970, or thereabouts. And here is what you need to know about the Earth's core reversing its spinning direction. Now, they say no cause for public concern. Well, if there was, do you really think they'd tell us? I don't think so.
No, of course they wouldn't tell us. They're going to keep all the information that's good for them. I'm sure that humans definitely do have some kind of a reaction to it, but knowing the controllers the way we do, I bet you they were ready for all of our strange reactions that might come from our human body.
So what was discovered? Okay, there is a new study that's found that the Earth's solid inner core layer might have slowed its rotation to a stop and recently begun spinning in the opposite direction. The study suggests the Earth's core does this periodically on a cycle that lasts from 60 to 70 years and may have a connection to climate change and other geological events. Yeah, so it doesn't necessarily mean, since we have at least they tell us, we have a solid core that's basically rotating around in a sea of liquid, as Austin Powers would say. Or is it Dr. Evil that says magma?
I thought it was Mini-Me.
Is it Mini-Me that says magma?
I think somebody would know, yeah.
Sita's looking at me like, oh, you sound strange, Dad. So the Earth's inner core is separated from the rest of the solid Earth core, or the solid Earth, by the liquid outer core, enabling it to rotate differently from the rotation of the Earth itself. The spin of the inner core is driven by the magnetic field generated in the outer core and balanced by the gravitational effects of the mantle. According to the study published in Nature Geoscience, Weather Channel reported that this finding should not cause people to panic. Don't worry. Trust the Rothschilds. After all, they own the Weather Channel.
Yeah.
And boy, did Cindy cringe when I said that. She's like, oh, here you go. You're going to get de-whatevermanized again. They said, don't worry. It's not going to change anything in a typical day. It's only contentious because scientists can't figure it out. So says John Vidale, a geophysicist at the University of Southern California. It's probably benign. Don't worry. It's probably benign. That's not what you have your doctor say, right? Yeah, but we don't want to have things we don't understand going on deep inside the Earth. The Miami Herald reported that the experts had determined that when the Earth reverses its spinning direction, it doesn't affect our daily lives. Trust the science, guys. We show surprising observations that indicate the inner core has nearly ceased its rotation in the recent decade and may be experiencing a turning back into a multi-decadal oscillation. Multi-decadal oscillation, that just means basically a rotational spin that changes, every so often. I mean, again, they like to use the terms that are going to try to confuse the masses. But, again, they say this happened in the 1970s, or early 1970s, they say was the last time. There's a lot of other things going on in this time frame, as we've seen tremendous changes. This was a video we did back on March 23rd, 2018. Now, this was before we were being demonized and, hitting the AI algorithms, as it had 262,372 views. And it was about the pole shift speed increasing so fast, NOAA.gov issues notifications about this. And in fact, they actually, have a study, the PDF that went out talking about this and talking about how, your GPSs are going to be off because they can't keep up with how fast things are changing here. It's fascinating when we look at what's going on. And in some ways, we are getting new little tidbits, as this is also talking about that study. And there's another new study that reveals advanced understanding of plate tectonics. But the thing is, too, there's like these revelations that we had now, 5 years ago, 4, 5, 6 years ago, that there's no further information coming out on. It's just like, okay, what's up now, guys? Nothing, been there, done that, I guess. I don't know why they wouldn't look at something a little bit closer and come out with more information when we're talking about, things of this magnitude. Sorry about that dinner plate there. The guys are getting hungry again. They're demanding food. New study reveals advanced understanding of plate tectonics. Study provides new insight into spatio-temporal relationships between material movement, energy transfer, dynamic regime, and geothermal gradient along plate margins. It highlights the importance of plate divergent, convergent coupling systems and the operation of plate tectonics on Earth, and the key to advanced plate tectonics is recognizing the geodynamic mechanisms and tectonic effects on the formation and evolution of plate margins. Study found that plate tectonics operates through the interlinked processes of continental drift, seafloor spreading, lithospheric subduction, resulting in the generation, modification, and demise of lithospheres throughout geological time. System of lithospheric plates in horizontal and vertical movements forms the spatial temporal linkages of matter and energy between the surface and interior of the Earth, advancing the kinematic theory with a dynamic explanation. So, again, it's all about plate tectonics and the fact that nothing stays put. It's always changing. It's constantly changing. And the fact that when we look at this, we look at continental breakup, we see active rifting, what's going to come through the surface when the seafloor opens up and spreads? It's going to be volcanic activity, which is going to warm up the water. This will affect La Nina and El Nino. This is going to affect our weather patterns. So you have all this going on. My question is, can this be induced via technology? And I do believe that's the case.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, for sure. I think we're in a position where we can't even really perceive that such technologies would exist. But everything is just so, when you really start to wake up and you peel away the layers of the onion, you have to at least entertain that there might be some technologies. Look at that cool looking Dyson sphere in the front of the Vatican lawn there. What's that about?
Well, absolutely. And then when you have all this volcanic activity with again, everything else that's going on the planet, and again, we recognize that in some areas we have a warming, some areas we have a cooling. This is, part of the natural flux of the planet. And then we add in things like CERN and HARP and all the satellites and all the different technologies that are out there also tweaking and influencing everything. And it certainly is a dynamic system. There was a time when all the plates were connected, and there has been continental drift. We've seen land masses disappear, and we've touched on that many times about different Legends and myths, obviously, Atlantis, Lemuria, and Mu. If you go over onto Gaia, and yes, I do think Gaia has an agenda. I do also think Gaia has, you know, if you realize that what you're watching, maybe 50 to 70% of it's going to be pretty accurate and on the mark, and just take that some of it might be a little bit off. This is what we should do with everything anyway. We should always be weighing everything, seeing what weighs right, when we balance it out with both mind and the feeling aspect of it. You will get from Matthias de Stefano, who is somebody that, according to the program, is able to remember past lives. I do think that there's many people that can remember past lives. I've shared with you guys, I've had glimpses of them. And then with Cindy going into trance channel and also being able to help me clarify things, been able to recover a lot of information on past lives. And that's not unique. I think that there's lots of people that get glimpses of past lives. I shared with you also, not to get too far off topic, but again, it's all about framing our world around us, because it's much different than what we read in history and science books. Much, much, much different. I had one client who the doctors said there was absolutely no reason for her legs to swell as much as they did, and they swelled enormously. She was not obese, but if you just looked at her ankles and feet, you would swear this is a woman that weighs 300 or 400 pounds. In reality, she weighed about 150, maybe, and what it was that they couldn't understand where this edema was coming from. She ended up going and getting a past life regression, and she found under hypnosis that there was a flood in her last life. She went down into the basement and was electrocuted when she stood in the basement with full water. And that's how she died. That was manifesting in the body in this life. So again, this is really part of the depth of who we are and how things experience, how different experiences sit with us. And where I'm going with this too is that there's another great book that was out by Barbara Handclough, in which she talked about the fact that so much of what we think we're going to see in the future, yes, I'll be the first one that says a lot of these prophecies, a lot of them are predictive programming, getting us to co-manifest these prophecies. I do think that some we can say are warnings from guides, from our higher selves, whatever you want, our angels, guardian spirits, whatever, ancestors. Warnings about the potential timeline that we're on, but some of it is remembrances as well of past cataclysms. And so her book is called Catastrophobia, and it probably came out 20 years ago. I also mention this because, although Cindy has fears of being too close to the water, especially, I think, too close to the Atlantic Ocean. And that's because during the time of Atlantis, she died getting, swallowed up by a tsunami, and she has remembrance of that.
Mm-hmm. Right. And you never really know when the DNA memory is going to pop its head up. It usually does through some type of spiritual awakening, but that came up. I've always had like this frozen fear of the ocean, it's just too much. It's too much to take in, and obviously now I know why. And so many of us have these memories. They're preserved in our DNA, and we do have ways to read them. We can either do it ourselves, or we can have someone step into another's energy body and read it for them. So there's several different ways to pull up past lives, and usually what you're going to get is you're going to get anything that gives you an answer that is going to assist you in this life now. If you're needing to know why something is, that's the information that's going to pull itself forward, as not to overwhelm you, because we have a deliberate filter on us, and that deliberate filter allows us to have this experience without the overwhelm. Could you imagine if we and this only can happen in a golden age, but if we could read all the layers of our bodies right now, it would be such sensory overload, because we're not created to handle that capacity right now.
Yeah, in the body, absolutely. And my daughter, she's had some incredible visions too, and there's a reason why she's living in Ohio. It's because she always had visions of tsunamis. Now, I don't know, in her case, she always felt it was in the future, and as soon as she was of age, she was out of Connecticut, as we were living 2 blocks from the beach. And so, she moved to Ohio. She's been there ever since. So she always had that, but she also had visions, which I think I've shared with you guys in the past too, of all of a sudden another planet being up in the sky, and seeing a huge planet, red planet, which I've always taken to be a thing of Nibiru, or foreshadowing and forewarning of Nibiru. And I do remember when she had that nightmare. She was about 8 years old, so that was like, a long time ago, 25 years ago, 26 years ago. Seismic climate connection, absolutely. Volcanic activity is going to have a big effect. The clouds are affected by what's going on in the core of the earth. This is, again, one system. We got to think of it. The earth itself is one cell, and when you kind of look at it as a sphere like that, you could almost conceptualize it being a cell. It's a single cell, but then we are a cell in the earth at the same time. This is part of what we have to understand, the bigger scheme of things. So obviously, when we go through this period of increased volcanic activity, because we are being hit from increased solar activity with a purpose, and that purpose really is a good one. It's to lift us up. It's all about restoring our DNA. It's all about lifting us up. It's all about fighting against the shroud of the dark side, to use Star Wars terms. That has, basically descended upon this planet and many others. We're not alone in this battle. So the sun is doing its thing. It's getting the light. The light is information. It's triggering changes in our DNA. It's triggering changes in the consciousness of the planet. Many people such as Ben Davidson and David Devine and Christian, when he was making videos, Ice Age Farmer, Adapt 2030, Suspicious Observers. We could go on and on with people that have been talking about all this stuff for the years now. This is a period of great change that we are in. Absolutely. And I think, is it Maverick Star Reloaded that has said that there's going to be a pole reversal? I think this year is what he pegged. I think he pegged this year. We will see. We don't get that from the guides. But we did get a message after our morning meditation and mantras that Mother Earth is about to cleanse herself, is the way it came across. Now, again, when we try to get more information on timing, because when we're not in the body, there's really no time. This is the thing that how can we comprehend that when we experience time all the time, right? To say that there is no time when we're not in the body, it's kind of perplexing to most people. You could kind of perceive it when you go deep into meditations and you get those periods of time where it might be a long time that went by, and you might think that you were only meditating for 10 or 15 minutes, and you might see it's been an hour and a half, something along those lines. But again, it's hard to conceptualize. And that is still the nature of the real us. We're just in this vehicle. This vehicle experiences things in a very, very limited way compared to the bigger perception of us. So when they say mom's getting ready for cleansing is kind of how the message came through.
Right. And when we are dealing with time and trying to imagine that there is no time, that's very difficult. But you have to look at things and understand that the only reason we have this construct that we have is for our experience. So we have these little markers to put us to A and to B, and it's very, very short in comparison to the eternity of the planet. And to cycles. Now, one thing you can do is you can look at things through cycles and through seasons. And that's how, a lot of religious philosophies are spoken about. They talk about the season of this and the season of that. Well, we're in a season of cleansing. But, how do we try to pin, in a time frame? It's like, well, give me some comparison. Give me something. But when you're looking out into the vast of everythingness and you're seeing everything happen all at one time and you look at it, there is no date stamped on that. It's just, I'm sorry, it's not there, but it's information that comes through. And because I'm here speaking to you, I feel I need to say something. I mean, if you know something, you say something. And it's not necessarily to be feared either. Look at the situation that we're all in. We are in a construct and we are being controlled in ways that are so against our natural nature. It is so unhealthy. Things need to break down. They need to break down and they need to be redone in a way that's going to give us a lasting love of life. I mean, how many people are just going through one day after the next, just exhausted? You wake up in the morning just to grunt through your day and just to hurry up and go to bed, just to sleep just maybe a little bit because you're so stressed out. You're worried about the alarm going off, so you can't get to sleep. I mean, and this is our daily cycle. How unhealthy is that? That's not the way we're meant to be. So when we do hear talk of a cleansing, that's not necessarily a bad thing by any means. It means things are going to be wiped clean. It's like wiping a chalkboard clean. You wipe it clean. Oh, wow, it looks great. Now you can put up a beautiful photo. Well, we're coming to the part where the chalkboard is going to get cleaned off, which is great, and we can paint our own picture.
Okay, so the way that she put that smile on that one, at the same time, what does this mean? Obviously, this means, the actual earth changes are going to be increasing again. So much of what we've seen has been maybe half at best earth change, and the rest has been technology. But there will be an increased period of earth changes that will continue on for quite a while, even after the power structure that's currently in control of the planet has had its power waned and ebbed to where it's not controlling the entirety of the planet, and more people are living free outside of the power structures, smart cities and the like, because again, it's going to be a choice that we're faced with, and we'll see, again, each will navigate in their own way. So that article was all about the fact that when we see stuff going off like Tonga, which again, we did get again that Tonga is also technology driven, yet when we have these big eruptions, these higher VEIs like 6s and 7s, when you're talking carbon emissions from cars, again, that's something that's all about SALES and agendas. Absolutely. And this was an article from 1st of August 2016. Australia is about to move 1.5 meters to the north. Due to tectonic shifts, the entire continent of Australia has moved 1.5 meters to the north over the past 22 years, putting it out of sync with GPS systems. This was another thing that we brought up back in 2018, and I have not seen anything that has given us more clarity on this. Is it speeding up? Is it slowing down? What's going on? I think there's a lot of things they've just dropped as far as keeping up with, because I don't think they want to keep up with it, honestly. Again, the Earth goes through major changes in regular periods. We've shared with you guys what we've found, and you guys have seen some of the same things about, finding fossils in deserts that supposedly have not had oceans on top of them in maybe millions of years. Yet these fossils don't look that old. Well, again, change can come quick, change could be rapid, and very, very unexpected. But if we're in tune with the Earth and we're really going with what we feel, then we should get warnings, just like animals will move out of an area before a big quake hits. So we had a 6.4, a deep, very deep one, again hit Argentina. This looks like one quake. actually, there's the 2 here. So we have the 6.4 now, and then we had the 6.8. This is in just about the exact same area, 610 kilometers deep, 601 kilometers deep. So interesting. The energy has stayed almost the same, and it hasn't moved anywhere. That's curious. I don't have an explanation for you. When we were talking about the first one, we were saying more than likely, typically, you'd probably see it roll down here. There's a termination point, to use Dutch Sense's terms, or possibly cut across and head over to the Mid-Atlantic Rift area, or even manifest somewhere over towards Africa. But apparently the energy is still there. That really hits me as weird. Do you pick up anything on this? Are you sensing anything technological or natural?
Gosh, when I sink my energy into the ground, of course, naturally, there is a disturbance there. But I am feeling like these little electrical tickles inside the ground. So my guess is it's something that is being triggered from the ground. Now, I've seen energies come from the sky, and I've seen things implanted in the ground. So we're dealing with something that's irritating the ground from the ground. So that's what we're dealing with there.
So, yeah, it's curious. Now, again, typically I would expect it to move south or to move over towards Africa. But, if it goes the other way, I wouldn't be surprised in these days because, as we said before, they are trying to trigger a major event in the U.S. So, we'll have to keep our eyes open for this. Now, we did have this one, too. This 6.2 was 166 kilometers deep. Now, this was on 1/20/23, and then these two were on 1/20. Yeah, so those were on the same day, and then 4 days later. So, I was wondering if the energy shifted down here, but then now it's apparently stalled. Well, we'll have to see what happens, guys. We'll have to see what happens. As always, we need to keep prepared. And you know what? I had forgotten to get our little piece of levity. There you go. This is my favorite person out of the Netherlands. What do we got today? Oh, yeah. We got a kitty in the box.
If it fits, I sits. And he is going to make the best out of that situation there and going to make himself comfortable one way or another. This seems like a very determined kitty.
Well, this reminds me of the way some people bury their head in the sand when they're faced with climate change.
Oh my gosh, then there's that too. But I don't know. I always like to watch a kitty. It's so cute if they could crawl into a bowl or something like that.
If it fits, I sits. Well, I got something that fits. Can we name him Al Gore?
I like that. Yes.
That does remind me of Al Gore. I'm just saying.
Just saying.
As always, guys, thanks for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. Much love. Namaste.
Namaste.